Aman's village lived in a state of constant scarcity. Without reliable water or a school for the children, the community existed in a cycle of stagnation that hard work alone couldn't break. Searching through his grandfather's wooden chest, Aman found a rolled parchment buried under layers of dust. It was a map toward a hidden jungle treasure. A single warning was written across the top. Only those who were true and brave would be permitted to claim what lay at the end of the trail. With no other resources left to the village, this quest became a necessity. For Aman, the map represented a specific, practical weight. The survival of his home depended on his success. Aman entered the jungle, a space of dense, heavy shadows and narrow paths designed to confuse anyone who lacked a clear sense of direction. He reached a roaring river, where the only path across was a bridge of fractured wood and decaying rope. One misstep meant instant failure. Beyond the bridge, he relied on his agility to move through the undergrowth, evading the giant snakes and territorial predators that patrolled the jungle floor. Physical resilience allowed Aman to pass through the outer gates of the jungle. He had survived the environment, but the upcoming barriers would target his character rather than his movement. The path eventually led to a clearing guarded by a green parrot. Here, the physical obstacles vanished, replaced by a barrier that couldn't be climbed or outrun. The parrot issued a single requirement: solve a riddle. What gets bigger the more you take out? Aman visualized the problem as a physical subtraction. As shown in this diagram, removing material from a solid mass creates a void that expands in direct proportion to what is taken. His answer was a hole. Satisfied with the logic, the parrot dropped an iron key into Aman's hand, granting him access to the next stage of the trail. This moment shifted the requirements of the quest. Aman had demonstrated that he could use abstract reasoning to navigate a problem where effort and strength were useless. Using the key, Aman entered an ancient cavern. He moved quickly to avoid a series of falling boulders triggered by the opening of the heavy stone door. The interior of the cave was filled with literal mountains of wealth: gold coins, diamonds, and artifacts that had sat untouched for centuries. As Aman approached, the cavern floor shook, and a massive stone guardian rose from the rubble to block his way. The guardian delivered a warning: those who come here seeking personal riches lose everything. The treasure was designed to react to the seeker's intent. Aman stood his ground and explained his goal. He didn't want the piles of gold for himself. He only wanted enough to dig a deep well for his neighbors and finally build a school for the village children. The guardian lowered his guard. The vault's final security measure was a moral filter, intended to identify and stop anyone driven by individual greed. The guardian handed Aman a small, plain chest. Inside was not a handful of coins, but a single glowing magical seed. A stack of gold is a finite resource that disappears. The seed, however, represents a self-sustaining network that grows exponentially. Planted in the village center, this growth provided a permanent water source, a clinic, and a school, creating a foundation for long-term health. The village was no longer surviving on a one-time gift. The true wealth was the seed's ability to create a continuous, compounding benefit for every family in the community. Looking back, the journey follows a logical structure. Aman had to pass 3 distinct filters: physical resilience, mental agility, and moral integrity. Failing any point meant rejection. The treasure was only accessible to someone whose character occupied the intersection of all 3 traits. Gold and gems are temporary assets. The internal development of courage, logic, and an honest concern for others is the only treasure capable of producing a permanent return.